Welcome friends, this is Sanjay Gore. I am from Pune, India. At present I am working as a freelance consultant, auditor and speaker. More than 20 years I am in information and cyber security and risk management domains. I have worked in India, Saudi Arabia, Qatar and some East African countries. I have qualifications like CISA, CRISC, CDPSC, CRMA, CIPC, and I am lead auditor for 27001, risk manager for 27005, and I am a certified trainer from PECB. So with this small background, let us start with the subject. Now coming to the point, introduction to ISMS ISO IEC 27001 2013 is a standalone standard for ISMS, Information Security Management Systems. In this video, we are going to see part 1 of total 4 parts of this video series. This series is having 4 videos. First being Introduction to ISMS IEC 2700 2013. Number 2 session would be Information Assets Risk Management under ISO 27001 2013. Third session would be ISO IEC 27001 2013 in detailed interpretation clause by clause. And session 4 would be ISO IEC 27002 2013 implementation guide for an actuary. So actually though 27002 is a separate standard, it is part of 27001 because 114 it shows how to be implemented. So it is implementation guide. So section 4 would be 27002. So friends, confidentiality. Most information system house information that has some degree or of sensitivity. It might be a proprietary business information that competitors could use to their advantage, or personal information regarding an organization's employees, contractors, customers and clients. Passwords, access control list and authentication procedures use software to control access to the resources. These access control methods are complemented by use of encryption to protect the information that can be accessed despite the controls. Additional confidentiality countermeasures include administrative solutions such as policies and training, as well as physical controls that prevent people from accessing the facilities and equipment. Now integrity, these are the measures provide assurance in the accuracy and completeness of the data. So when I say integrity, it is accuracy and completeness of the data, and it is free from any unauthorized changes or unauthorized alterations. Effective integrity countermeasures must also protect against unintentional alterations also. So it is not necessary that a person is doing some malafide, but by mistake also, suppose he is anybody is doing that, it should be controlled, it should be prevented. And user errors, data diddling, data loss, that is a result of system of malfunction, etc. should be taken care of. In order for an information system to be useful, it must be available to authorized users. So this is availability part. System that have a high requirement of continuous uptime should have significant hardware redundancy, network redundancy with backup, and data storage immediately available. Best example is online browsers, data for stock exchanges. It should be, because it is a question of seconds, so it should be available to the authorized user. Now we have seen what is confidentiality, integrity, availability. Now we'll see how. How it can be done? By detecting, preventing and responding. And who will do that? Who will do that? People, process and technology. So we'll try to understand what is detect, prevent and respond. There are various controls. Some of controls are detective controls, which detect the things, like they inspect and find something, that is detection, and based on the detection it is responded. The response could be either prevention or corrective measure. That in detail we'll see afterwards what are the internal controls and other things. But here detect, prevent and respond is an internal control. How it can be done? It is done by people, processes and technology. Processes is what? Various policies and procedures, SOPs, rules and regulation, internal rules, protocols, all these are called as a process. Network protocol, access control protocol, many things. Then people actually man behind machine, human beings, and technology. Technology basically IT systems, ITES systems. I'll give an example. For example, CCTV. CCTV is a detective control. It cannot prevent a person from entering into area which he is not supposed to enter, but it will be detected and informed to the person who is attending or monitoring it 24/7. So that person who gets the reply that somebody is entering into unauthorized person entering into authorized area, that person will come in picture and try to prevent him. If he prevents it, okay, but suppose after preventing also he forcibly tries to enter, then he will respond by putting a whistle or calling security guard, or to that extent calling to police, or jumping a gun or whatever. So this is respond. And how it is done? It is done because this CCTV is a technology. The person who is controlling that or monitoring that is a people, and the person who is responding is also people. But where process comes in picture, because by process he is authorized to do that. If I am jumping a gun, I am authorized to do it by my nature of the duty. So this is the, suppose I am trying to enter login with wrong password. My detective control in the system will definitely monitor it, and it will give me fair chance of 3 attempts, and on 4th attempt it will prevent from me doing that. Once it is prevented, the respond would be, this will be notified to the security information security person. He will find how many failed logins are there, failed login attempts, and immediately he will call that person, whether he has really forgot his password or somebody is trying to enter. He will check other things also, like the area, normal. Suppose I am from Pune and the login is from Africa somewhere, or so he will check that also. So that all is technology, and all is people, the person who is doing that, and another is this process, because he is authorized to do that. So this is in brief what is
there are
CI.
12 stages. One by one we can see. Create a business case for ISO 27001 2013 certification. Business case is nothing but a formal proposal created by any function or a person to propose that the organization should go for certification of 27001. Once the business case is created, it will go to top management for their commitment and sanction. Then establishment, project team and appoint a consultant. Project team may be consisting of various domains, domain expert, like all IT related, legal, law, accounting, finance, HR, etc. Then determine scope of the system. Scope is to be determined, as we have seen what is the scope. Establish ISMS policy and objectives. So policy and objectives has to be established. ISMS policy is different and ISMS objective is different. That has to be established. Then assess ISMS risk and develop operational controls. After that, risk assessment has to be done. After that, establish monitoring and measurement system. Monitoring measurement system formally will be having SOP, where how the measurement and these control are to be check and balances and other things, they are documented. Then implement documented system. When all systems are documented, implement it on the system. Then impart training based on the implementation and finding after the gap analysis, training gap analysis. Impart training to normal users, stakeholders, employees, contractors, and for skilled persons to improve the skill. So to improve the skill, it is training, and to make aware is awareness. Then conduct internal audit. Internal audit is normally conducted by third party firms. They will conduct everything and give their report. Then conduct management review. Once internal audit is completed and getting the report, MRM will be management review meeting will be conducted, and a formal SAR formal report for action taken ATR will be conducted. SAR, CAR, etc. all reports will be conducted, and then management take the decision, and then they go for certification audit.
Everything is said and done. Unless it is certified by a third party, there is no meaning in implementation and other things. So it is a requirement that the organization should be audited and certified. So for that there is a timeline. First year, we'll see one by one. First year, pre-audit. This is optional and it must be done at least 3 months before the certification audit. So suppose I want that I should be certified, say from January, then earlier to that 3 months in October I have to pre-audit this. What is pre-audit? Mainly pre-audit is gap analysis. Normally a consultant is appointed and he sees the gaps, he finds out the gap, what is required and what is there and what difference between that is a gap. Then plan for audit as mutually agreed. Then we'll go for certification. You have to register. First step being you purchase the standard, then apply for ISO. There are various accredited institutes like PECB or many are there. So you have to apply them, you have to approach them, and mutually agreed you decide the audit plan. Then audit, stage 1 audit. Stage 1 audit, before we have seen already, the normally is establishing the various systems, documentation, other thing, then internal audit and MRM, management review meeting. After that, this internal this third party non-conformities must be closed at least 3 months after audit is concluded. So once the audit stage 1 and stage 2 audit is completed by the third party accredited institute, then any non-conformity or major minor or major non-conformities should be closed within 3 months from of the audit report, date of submission of audit report. And then the accrediting institute will give initial certificate. So after fulfilling everything, management confirmation, everything, you will get a certificate. That certificate will be issued within 2 weeks after successful audit closing. So once the certificate is given successfully, it is valid for 3 months. 3 years. However, on second year there is a surveillance audit. You have to conduct surveillance audit. Again, it is in 2 parts. One is audit plan and another is surveillance audit 1. So it should not be no longer than 12 months from the initial certification. So suppose initial certificate is taken in January 2020, then surveillance audit cannot be more longer than January 2021. And 3 months. So immediately after completing 9 months, you should start planning for surveillance audit 1, stage 1 and stage 2. Then year 3, again after third year, again with the same limitations, third year also you have to plan for audit and take surveillance audit. Third, after second surveillance audit, that is after 3 years from certification. So the lifespan is 3 years. First year is initial audit, second year is your surveillance audit within 1 year, and another surveillance audit within another 12 years. So the life of this span of 3 years, there will be 3 audits. And once the period is completed, 3 years is completed, then again it will be re-audit, recertification, and again initial certification for first year, and like is go on. So this is a life cycle or timeline for any certification. See, while studying the ISMS standard like 27001-2013, we are going to check, we are going to see the whole structure from a high point of view, holistic approach. It has total section 10. Actually, there are sections are 11 because it starts with 0. So section 0 to 3 is like this: introduction, scope, normative reference, and terms and conditions. So introduction, first just it introduces what is what is a standard, why it is, how it is developed, etc. Then it has a scope of the certification, scope of various aspects of standard. Then it goes for normative reference. Normative reference is normally for definition of various terms and used while giving the details, provisions and other things. Terms and conditions are say SLA kind of, what the organization should do, what it should not do, what is the procedure and other things that will come there. Then section 4 to 10 is actually requirements that must be implemented. 4 to 10 is organization context, what is the organization, how it is formed, location, internal dependencies, external dependencies, regulation, etc. Organization context. Then leadership, commitment of leadership, that they will support all the way for implementation of standard. Then it goes with 6 is planning. Planning is most for any that we have seen already, PDCA. So planning is important. It should be well planned, well documented, well approved system for planning for any procedure. Then it goes for support. Support is again a support not only financially but by activities also. The support for higher management, board of directors, steering committee, etc. should have. Section 8 is operation. It actually gives operation of operational provisions. Then performance evaluations. So whatever performance evaluation is there, like KPIs, key performance indicators, key risk indicators, KRIs, how review is done, how internal audit is conducted, how review of your risk management, risk procedures, etc. are taken, what action should be taken, etc. So all performance evaluation, it should be defined. Number 10 is improvement. Improvement is called as continual improvement. There is a concept called as continuous improvement and continual improvement. Here it is expected that it should be a continual improvement. It is different from continuous improvement. So that has to be done. In addition to that, there is a annexure, and this annexure A is having 114 controls. 4 sections are for introduction, scope, normative reference, and terms and conditions. So actually standard starts with section 4, ends with section 10. So actually there are 7 operative very important clauses. While defining the framework, there are various aspects which we have to study.
we have seen context of the organization. As a part of that, we have to define the location. The organization may be having many places, many locations. So you have to define which location you are going to give, going to apply for the certificate. So within one location also, it could be geographically one location, but it could be one part, one department only can be covered. So it should be specifically mentioned what is location or locations. Then activities. Activities are also to be defined. For example, only IT or HR or marketing system or all departments on a particular, like, so all activities. Activities is functions. So functions should be defined. In which area, in which function the organization wants to be certified. Then scope of the organization context, that we have seen organizational context uh, is what they are doing, what is their main business, how their dependencies, etc. Then we should have organization chart. We know what is organization chart. It is a reporting system. Who is superior, who is supervisor, who is controlling. There are some rigid lines, there are some dotted lines. So that defines the various authorities, etc. That is defined by organization chart. Internal dependencies. Internal dependencies is PPT. Again, we have seen it: process, people, and technology. So, up to what extent, suppose IT department is, you are depending on IT department, how much you are depending on finance department, how much you are depending on HR department, how much you are depending in physical security, admin, and many things like all internal functionaries which are directly or indirectly connected with information security or in information security systems. So these to be considered. Then external dependencies. External dependencies mainly your suppliers, your customers, government, and regulatory bodies, your financier, and all dependencies. So how much you depend on your customer, how much you depend on your contractors, how much you depend on your consultants, auditors. So all these relations has to be defined. See, external dependency, it is easy to remember PESTL, PESTL. P is political, E is economical, S is sociological, T is technological, again E is environmental, and L is legal. L is legal. So if these 6 items, not only 6, there are many, but just to make it easy to remember, uh, we have done that PESTL. So that external environment depends on these 6. Then laws applicable, which there are many laws applicable. Law of the land. Suppose a company is established in Middle East and working in India, then law of the land of India will be applicable. At the same time, laws of UAE also are applicable to the company. So there should be one register ideally, and where with the help of legal department, it should be mentioned that which are the laws applicable to the organization. That definition is very much important, and it is one of the mandatory requirements for attending this certificate. Then law applicable. After law applicable, you have to see the regulation applicable. Applicable regulations could be, for example, if it is a bank, Reserve Bank of India; if it is insurance, IRDA; if it is telephone, TRAI. Like that, there are many regulators. If your company is listed, SEBI could be regulator. So all these regulator. Not only that, the regulators of foreign country also. For example, GDPR. GDPR is a regulation for privacy. Even though company is working in India, up to extent GDPR is applicable. If it is applicable or not, it is to be mentioned. So again, there will be another register where all regulations are enlisted but with help of legal department. So this is the framework.
RASI chart is an extension of organization chart. So for any incidents, for any action or any activities, one chart is prepared which is called as RACI, which is responsibility, accountability, consulting, and information. So one by one we'll say what is R. R is responsible, the person who is directly responsible. Person who is accountable, who makes the final decision and has the ultimate ownership. We call it as buck stops there. So he is accountable. Who is consulted? The person before a decision or action is taken. So is that consulted person is supposed to be an expert in that area. He will be consulted before taking any action. And who is informed? The person who is informed that decision action has been taken. So it's just an information like highest post, CEO or say chairman of the board or chairman for RACI. I'll take a very simple example. Suppose a cashier does something wrong. He pocketed his money of the company. He is responsible because directly he is doing that. Who is accountable? The accountant or the supervisor or head cashier will be accountable. Who is consulted? Your legal department. So you want to take action against that particular cashier or accountant, then you have to consult the legal person or legal in charge or external advocate, counsel, etc. They could be in consulted tab. And last is informed. So all whatever incident, whatever security incident or any action or whatever activities you are conducting should be informed to the CEO or CISO, the person who is designated to be informed. It could be periodical, like every weekend or every month end or every day in the evening, end of day, etc. Depending on the activity what we are aimed at. Another example, RACI. RACI is very important, especially for fixing the accountability if any legal issues are there. Actually, test of any internal control is of accountability. And another is it is an extension of organization chart. So it is part of your organizational context. Is an interactive 4-step management method used in business for control and continuous improvement of processes and products. It is also known as the Denning circle or Denning cycle or do adject. I'll try to explain. What is this? Whenever you are doing anything, you have to plan it. Plan means what is plan? You have to do, how to do, who will do, up to in what time it should be done, like that. So that is a planning. Then you do is coming after planning. So once you planned, you have to do as per the plan. Then check whatever you have done, check it whether it is as per plan, and then any outcome found, you act on that. So how will act? To act that you have to plan again and then do it like that. So PDCA, it is a continuous circle going on, and you have to do it again and again and again. It is a process. It is continual process, and it is not a one-time program or one-time function. It is always on, and it applies uh, right from high level to a small level also. For example, you are changing a firewall rule. So we have to change. I want to change a firewall rule. I have to plan what rules are to be changed, who will do it, how it can be done. Then do it. Whatever you have planned, do it. Then check it whether whatever you have done is as per planned or not. And suppose any deviation found, you act on that. After acting it, again plan for check whatever you have done, and it goes on. So that is a PDCA cycle. It is inevitable. Previously, this 27001 PDCA was mandatory, but now from introduction of 2013 standard, the standard is silent on this, and they say you have a liberty. The organization has liberty to get any standard, not necessarily PDCA, but it should be defined. In all ISO standards, one concept is most important is continual improvement. Um, we have seen what is PDCA. As a part of that, the organization should have improvement in their systems. Is one of the mandatory provisions. One of the mandatory provisions that the organization should be having a well-defined system for continual improvement. Now there is a slight difference between continuous improvement and continual improvement. Continuous improvement means that the organizations are in a constant state of driving process improvement. So basically it is a process improvement, and it has a linear and incremental improvement with existing processes, whereas continual improvement is not a much difference, but even a continual improvement means that the organization go through the process improvement in stages. So for example, it is shown in the graph. Take this is on X, it is a timeline, it goes on time. Suppose this timeline is of 1 month, and process improvement is going like this. So if I do on the red line, if I do this continuous this thing, if anything goes wrong, then your this improvement stage comes directly to x-axis 0. It comes directly because this concept is for process improvement. For example, I'll give an example so we'll understand more. Suppose the process improvement is aimed at for say firewall. So you want to change make changes in firewall rules. So you make the changes and you change the firewall, all setting and etc. You are made it say over a period of 3 months. After 3 months, you come to know that there are some certain changes are required, and whatever your estimation or the probability or whatever you are thinking of future was not correct. So you have to revisit, and as a part of PDCA, you have to go again and submit that rules again, define that rules. So by doing that, you will reach here. Directly here you will reach. So instead, if it is a continual improvement, what happened is for every month or every week, every Friday, suppose you are doing. So whatever you are done can be wasted till this stage only. So you need not go back. So that is the difference between continuous improvement and continual improvement. During this period of some time, I enjoyed giving you various insight of ISO, IEC 27001:2013, popularly known as ISMS. The subject is big, so it is divided into 4. These out of this series of 4 videos, this is the first video. So uh, I hope you must have enjoyed it, and definitely you will be eager to go for another sessions, another 3 sessions, and subscribe. Why it is needed? Because more and more like-minded persons will come to know that I am putting my videos. More than 20 years I am in this field, and I would like that should be shared amongst like-minded persons and the professionals. You will definitely be it will be useful for persons who are attending this. Therefore, please share with among your professionals, and have a spread of word, and also subscribe the channel, because success of any YouTuber is depending on the subscriptions. I know it is a good material. I am confident, and I hope you will be most of you will be subscribing this, and also please press bell icon. By that you will get more and more notifications as soon as I get some my videos uploaded to YouTube. Thank you for watching. Have a good time ahead. Bye bye.